Hello. Hi everyone. I am deciding to go live as first of the Friday floatings. Oh, Hayley! I was actually wondering if anyone would actually come on. Seeing as it is a Friday evening. So hi, how are you doing? So basically what my plan for today is just kind of answer a few of the questions that came through and also just kind of say hey and basically launch in inverted commas what the plan is going forward for the Friday floatings. So what I kind of see the Friday floatings being is kind of me coming on, having a chat, or maybe doing a demo, kind of talking through different things that might be applicable to you guys, but also then getting some cool speakers and people in this kind of area, I guess, of female health. Oh, hi Lily. Female health to come and do talks on different stuff. So kind of have some cool people lined up already to talk about PMDD, to talk about kind of female nutrition and some nutritional therapy. I've got someone to come on and speak about prenatal nutrition and training as well, and a other nutritionist talk about sports performance. Oh, hey Craig. So I've got loads of fun stuff lined up for the next few months. It's going to be really cool, and then it's going to be me talking a lot as well. So there were a few questions. I'll actually try this little question button. I'm going to see how this actually goes. So it should come up for me. But anyway, so some of the questions I had was, what first inspired you to start training specifically with women in mind? And that is actually an interesting question. So what started me first was pretty much my own, hi Eva, was pretty much my own experience. So I'm sure you guys have all been through this yourself, you know, where you're kind of training, you're going through the motions, you kind of, some days you feel really good, other days you don't feel good, and you just couldn't really figure out what was going on. So that was kind of what happened with me, really. I, started taking my training really seriously, and around the same time I started doing an internship and a PT course with Fitter, Faster, Stronger Gyms. Shout out to you guys, because they pretty much have paved the way for me to become the coach that I am. So they're really, really great gym based in Dublin in the city centre. And so I was doing a hi, Anna, how are you? Talking about my journey here, about how I got started with coaching women. So I started an internship with them after doing my personal training course. And, as I was saying, taking my training really seriously. And I actually went to a talk by Fit Manal, who, if you don't follow her, she's actually great, so check her out. And she actually did a workshop on it. And it just kind of opened up my eyes a little bit. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I was like really interested in the space. And then another friend, hi Jack, another friend recommended reading Roar, which actually I have here beside me because someone else was asking me about books. So basically they recommended this book to me, Darren, you know who you are. And she told me all about it, and I started reading it, and then I was like, oh my god, this is great. Did the whole watch Dr. Stacey Sims TED video, and then just cue me being an absolute nerd and just went down the rabbit hole that was coaching women. So then I started applying to myself. It went really well. I had much better energy, I was able to train better, I got stronger, and I was able to manage and I guess identify, which really was a big thing, what my symptoms were and kind of track that across my cycle. So really just a massive eye-opener for me. And then I started applying to my female clients in the gym. So I kind of did a bit of an experiment. Hi Dia, how are you? I started doing an experiment. Basically, again, Fit, Fast, Stronger gyms were great, and they kind of let me do a little kind of mini, I guess, study. Obviously, it was with I think it was with 6 or 8 of my clients. So those who weren't on hormonal contraception, I basically split them into 2 groups and had them on a traditional training program, and then had the other group on a kind of more in tune with your cycle training. And it just went really well. It's like loads of success, and even just from a psychological point of view, like the clients who were doing it where they're training with their cycle, we had a much better trust system going on. So we were able to kind of communicate, and they were able to tell me how they were feeling based on where they were in their cycle. If they were feeling fatigued, we'd still get a training session done. So they didn't feel daunted coming into the gym as well. And kind of, they said for them, it helped them manage, I guess, kind of their energy throughout their cycle. And it's made them much more consistent. So I've had really good feedback from that. And then it just snowballed. So that's kind of what got me into it. And also what got me into it was the pre and postnatal training. So there's a bit of a segue, but it was another kind of area that got me really kind of, I guess, interested in how the female body works and basically how bloody amazing it is. Pardon the pun. That was not intentional, but Craig's probably there giving me a thumbs up in the background. Yeah, so when I finished my internship with the gym and I was kind of moving into doing the gym, I was also doing this all part-time, which I'll tell you guys about in a second. And I was kind of humming and hawing about whether I actually would change to work with the gym full-time and become a coach. And one of those questions was, well, what if I wanted to become a parent? What if I wanted to become a mother? Would I actually be able to do that if I was a coach as well? And I think, things have kind of changed now, but back then there wasn't as much visibility with kind of, I guess, being active during pregnancy and a lot of kind of elite athletes being active as well. Or at least it wasn't on my radar, which is probably more accurate to say. So I started looking into pre and postnatal training because I was like, well, that's a really interesting way to be able to manage that and, being able to kind of coach people who are going through that experience. And again, the more I started learning about that, I was like, oh my God, this is all fascinating. And I just kind of combined all of that and was just really, really interested in all things related to women's health. And that's kind of what kicked off Go With The Flow in the background. And then I officially decided to launch the old brand at the start of lockdown with the push from my boyfriend, because I was humming and hawing about, did I do it? Do I launch it? Do I not? And he was like, yeah, why not? Go for it. You can just post all the stuff you want about periods and menstrual health and all that kind of stuff. And I did, and here we are. I'm doing my first Instagram live. Does anyone there who's actually watching Instagram have any questions for me as well? I'm going to go through the other ones, but if you do, just kind of type away and let me know, because I'd love to answer them. I know obviously quite a few of you guys are here are actually members or ex-coaches. Jack, that's for you, of FS Gyms. So, that's been a huge part of my, I guess, journey, is finding a gym that was super supportive. And, their motto is kind of make people the strongest versions of themselves. And that's really what they did with me. And it was just a fantastic experience. And I guess I just want to be able to bring that out to other people as well. Not only in Ireland, but across the world, because it is just a fantastic experience once you kind of find that support network. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it all. And then I had a question here as well about, have I always tracked my cycle, and if so, what app did I use? So no, I actually was on the pill for a large part of my life. So I think when I was like 16 or 17, I decided to go on the pill. And it was mainly for my skin, but then also, partly contraception as well. And I was like jumping back and forth between all these different ones, couldn't find one, getting loads of kind of side effects that they just didn't really seem to suit me at all. And then about, was it 2015, I decided to come off the pill, and then I actually went on the coil, so I can use the copper coil. And from there, again, kind of went through quite a few years not really doing anything and not knowing, and was that person that the doctor would be like, so when was your last period? And I was like, let me check back to when I was doing my thing on that day that I remember kind of being surprised when I got my period. And yeah, I didn't really have a clue. So started becoming more aware of it. Then I went to that workshop that Fit and I'll put on, and then really started tracking it properly. So I've been properly tracking it for 2.5 years now, maybe longer. And then I used to just put it in my calendar, and then I used Fitter Woman app, which is great. But then I wanted to start trying to pinpoint my ovulation. So then I moved on to natural cycles using the thermometer. And now I've moved on to the Fem Health app, because I'm actually doing a fertility course with them. And I really like how they track all your different symptoms and kind of your cervical mucus and your bleeding and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's great. And they also track your basal temperature as well as luteinizing hormone tests. So for me at the moment, that's got a great help. What I also do is then track that info over my own training in my own Excel that my clients will all be very familiar with. So I kind of try and combine a lot of them in that kind of Excel or Google sheet. So that's something else that I offer as well. Hi Mum Jim, how are you? I'm not sure if you know you personally, but I like the brand. Yeah, feel free to ask me any other questions, and if not, I'll keep going with these. And again, as I said, these talks are going to be like, more, I guess, based on a topic. This is very much just me introducing me and kind of what Go With The Flow is and what it is and what it's all about. So I had another question from someone else asking about what's a good first step for tracking your cycle. And I guess it's kind of going back to that first question where it's just write down day one of your cycle. Just put it in your calendar. You know, back in the day we didn't have the blood emoji, but we now do. So use that blood emoji and put it in just day one of when you get your period. That is the basic of what we should be doing. A, because it helps us spot if our cycles are regular. B, it helps us answer those questions when the doctor is like, when did you get your last period? And C, it helps us kind of know if it is regular when we're going to get it. You know, it doesn't have to be this thing that happens to us that catches us by surprise. It's something that we can actually manage and kind of own a little bit. And then if some things do start changing and gets irregular, you're able to actually see that and make a difference to it, or kind of at least kind of start investigating to why that might be happening. So it's actually an incredibly powerful tool if we start tracking. Then what I'd say is start tracking how many days you're bleeding, how much you're bleeding, is it heavy, is it light, etc., and then also track your PMS symptoms as well. So there's kind of ways you can layer it up, just as you would with any other habit. Just take it slow, do the basics, and once you master that, just kind of start layering it up on top as well. I had a question about the books, hence why I have the books. So the question that I got was any good nutrition videos or documentaries or book recommendations. I actually don't have any documentaries off the top of my head, but I do have some books. The first one is this. Hopefully this isn't backwards for you guys. I think it might be. If it is backwards, it's Just Eat It by Laura Thomas, and it's all about intuitive eating. And to be honest, this, after I'd done the whole kind of precision nutrition thing, which I'm now a coach in as well, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. Basically it's just eye-opening, and it's bloody hilarious. It's so funny. Like the way she writes about it is just like no bullshit, really, really kind of honest. It's all about basically trusting your body again and bringing that awareness back into how you eat, and it's fantastic. And really, like, I'd highly recommend it to everyone. Obviously it's kind of geared at women, and she kind of says at the front of the book, because that's her own experience, but it's really beneficial for anyone who kind of would read it. Another thing that I'd say, it's not necessarily a book, but Precision Nutrition have some really, really good infographics and just general articles up on their website. And actually, to be honest, I would send a lot of those to my clients a lot of the time, because they really do just hit the main areas and make it super digestible, pardon the pun, really easy to kind of read and implement. You know, they really take that kind of behaviour and habit based approach, which is what I like to do with coaching as well. The other ones that I have, it's not quite a nutrition book, but I actually really enjoyed it. So Period Power by Maisie Hill, and she's got a section at the back for self-help that includes food, kind of includes hydration, kind of talks about things like intermittent fasting and ketogenic and all that kind of stuff. But you know, it's obviously, there's so much more in this book than just nutrition, but that's another one that I really recommend. And also, if you are someone who menstruates and is just interested in kind of understanding the history of menstrual health and all the different things that are kind of out there with regards to kind of different therapies and how to look after yourself and how the hormones work and the seasons, which I know we had a couple of questions on when I actually put my Christmas post up about that. People were like, I've never heard about that before. Really good book, would recommend that. The other two, which are just more like sports science nutrition ones, kind of like that middle ground between like heavy research and actually being kind of easy to understand and read and also enjoyable. There's two on that. Again, training and a little bit of nutrition. They got some good recipes in there. Is the Roar book by Dr. Stacey Sims that I showed you guys, and then also this one, The World's Fittest Book by Ross Edgley. Hope I pronounced your name right. Sorry if I didn't. Really interesting. He's just done some mad stuff and kind of just breaks down, I guess, the science behind health and fitness and sports and how to kind of train for different things in a really easy and enjoyable way to read. Again, if you're somewhat of a nerd like me, but it is actually great. So again, that's another one that's just kind of interesting to read if you're in any way inclined towards that sort of stuff. And then I got a question about what sports did I play. So I did lots of sports, and I actually ended up calling my parents, full disclosure, today, being like, hi, can you really remember what sports I did when I was younger? Because I think I did X, Y, and Z, but I can't remember. And they're like, yeah, you did like, so I did ballet, tap, did horse riding for ages, gave that up when I was 13 and I started in secondary school, so I didn't really have time for that anymore, which I semi-regret because it was fantastic. Soccer was a really big one, so I played soccer, and this is what I'm trying to remember, and I can't remember. So I think I played with like a mixed team for a while, or did like a mixed camp or something, and then joined, I think when I was like 12 or maybe younger, 11. I know the first, hi Jess, the girls team, Malahide United. So I think I was part of the first girls team there. But again, I can't really remember. My parents were like, I think you did. I don't really know. But I love soccer, and I have a twin brother. So he was big into soccer. He was actually really, really good at playing soccer. So we always kind of would have kicked the ball around, and we both played basketball. Hi, Aoife. We played basketball, and then I got massively into hockey, and I did that for pretty much all of my senior school years. So for those who joined, I'm answering the question of thanks. I'm answering the question of what sports I played when I was younger, and I've actually just had a question here. Oh, Eva, thanks. I love it. That's the whole goal. Yeah, basically I just want to, I guess, make talking about your period normal, and that is a question that I also have, which I'll come to later on. Yeah, sports, massively into hockey. We had quite a small school. I went to Sutton's Park School in Sutton, in Dublin. Fantastic, really, really good. Have an excellent kind of sports program there. So we would play badminton, basketball, athletics, all that kind of stuff. Would have competed in the athletics competitions all the time. And we played hockey. We had really good hockey coaches up there. And I would have played for kind of the juniors and the seniors as well. Would have kind of played for both teams. And again, we're talking about today. This is back in the day we didn't have the mask. We were running out on the D. So yeah, we just kind of went with it. But no, it was great. And I then stopped when I went to college. I gave rowing a go for a couple of years in college, and then was just kind of training. So I was always kind of into lifting weights and doing stuff like that. Did the whole college thing where you basically don't really do anything. You just drink a lot and party a lot, which was super fun. But then trying to get back into it was a challenge, especially when I was working in the corporate world, which I did for a couple of years. So definitely lost my fitness, gained some weight, was having some kind of difficulties with, I guess, how I was in myself and all that, and I'll kind of do a separate talk about that another time. But then when I was at the Rugby World Cup in England, was like, okay, enough is enough, and that's when I decided to start with FS Gyms. So I started training there as a PT client, and then hi Kate, and then moved into a member, and then that kind of kicked off that whole journey that I talked about, where I actually was like, I really want to do this. And also, fun fact, again, if some of you guys have been following me, you probably saw that I found a letter or a list that I wrote for myself when I was on holidays as an 18-year-old in Greece, basically daydreaming as I was working in a bar, working stupid hours, living in a shack, basically being like, what do I want to do with my life? And I'd already started history of art and architecture in college, which I also loved. So my favourite subjects were like art, history, biology, languages. So biology was the only real science that I absolutely loved, and so here I am. But anyway, I wrote down a list, and it was yoga teacher, nutritionist, career counsellor. I think there was something else now. There might have been an artist or something, and a personal trainer. So I ended up finding that when I went back to my parents during the year this year. And I was just like, oh my god, it just goes to show. And basically I kind of came around in a roundabout way, but here we are, and I'm doing what I love. So yeah, sports has always been definitely a big part of my life. And I also started rugby this year at the age of 29, almost 30. So yeah, again, it's been a mad year because we haven't actually really played. I think there's been one match the whole year, and it's been cancelled, the AIL League, but sure, look, next year. And yeah, and Eva, to kind of answer kind of what you were saying there, I'm absolutely delighted to kind of have this platform, I guess. And again, that's such a word, but yeah, but basically just trying to normalize the conversation around all this sort of stuff. And that's another that I question that I got in is like, it's from a coach, but they're like, how do I actually approach this with my client? And I guess the same applies for clients talking to coaches. There's a lot of people out there who would suffer a lot with their menstrual cycles or bad PMS, and kind of feel like they have to turn up and kind of, or even in your workplace, and you're like, oh, I'm sick, or I'm this, I'm tired, I didn't sleep well, but actually you're just crippled with PMS, or you've got really bad, you're suffering from endometriosis. And it's this whole sort of thing where it's been taboo for so long that people don't know what to say. And I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I still struggle a little bit, even with my kind of male colleagues, to kind of be like, oh, I'm phase 4, so I'm not going heavy today, and I'm trying to get better at it, but it's a lot of years of unlearning what we learned, which was that you don't talk about this stuff. And even with your friends, you kind of did a little bit, but not really, and you didn't learn that much about it in school. So that's a big thing that I'm trying to push kind of this year, is going to schools. So I have obviously again had a small window throughout the past year to kind of do it in Ireland with COVID, but I did, which was great. So I kind of got into a couple of schools, and the plan is to kind of keep doing that, because once I started learning all this stuff, I was like, this is all the stuff I wanted to know when I was that age, and like what different choices might I have made, or how many semi breakdowns under the kind of, I guess, the covers when each month when it came around and I was so wrecked and didn't understand what was going on. If I just learned how to manage my energy better, and my work better and my training better to kind of suit where I was in my cycle, like what a difference that might have made to kind of other stages of my life. So yeah, so thanks Eva, I'm glad you're enjoying it and that you're enjoying the brand and all the stuff I do. And then yeah, I think that was all the questions I got in, guys. So if there is anything else that you want to ask here, fire away. Otherwise I'm going to sign off because it is Friday and I'm sure you all have stuff to do. Well, really, actually, COVID, it's probably just going to be Netflix and takeaway, which is totally fine, and that's what I'm going to do now. But as I said, what I have planned for you guys for this, the Friday Flowdown, is to either be talking myself about a specific topic related to female health, or to have someone on with me to talk about a topic related to female health and kind of nutrition, general fitness, so it's going to be a good old range of different stuff. So I hope you guys keep an eye out for the upcoming, I guess, episodes. and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you're watching it over the weekend, and I'm glad. Yeah, magnesium's a huge one. So yeah, and for anyone who's going to be in my part 2 of my workshop tomorrow, we'll be learning all about different kind of nutrition tips and tricks and stuff. But yeah, magnesium's a big one that's often overlooked. Thanks, Kate. Amazing. Yeah, I know there's so much we just don't know about this, like, not only as coaches but also just as women. So I'm glad you guys are getting something from this. But anyway, I'll sign off. I hope you all have an absolutely lovely evening. And Hannah, I'm literally leaving, but thanks for coming on. You'll just have to watch it back. I'll give you the highlights over WhatsApp. Thanks, Aoife. But yeah, guys, enjoy the weekend, and I will see you next week for hopefully our first speaker, which I will announce later on. But have a nice night.